Mr Poots, I'm deeply concerned. I think you're pulling a fly one, Mr Poots. We've been rummaging around in your website, and we found something rather interesting, Mr Poots. And a safer management of controlled drugs. Sativex. Sativex, a cannabis-based product, is currently being supplied in the United Kingdom on a named patient basis under license. Production, possession and supply of drugs in Schedule 1 is on a licensed basis only and is limited to research or other special purposes that are considered to be in the public interest. Sativex was, however, granted a marketing authorization in June 2010, and as a result of this, the Home Office is currently consulting on the rescheduling of this medicine. Sativex will continue to be prescribed and dispensed under license until there is a revision of the regulatory position. Well, just on a point of law, whilst the Home Secretary is responsible for this matter in mainland UK, in Northern Ireland, this is your job, Mr Poots, to designate the components of Sativex in the regulations into the appropriate schedule. So it remains that the components of Sativex are designated into Part 1 of Schedule 1, and yet, as a result of his marketing authorization in June 2010 for Sativex, this drug, which is made from cannabis, is being prescribed on a named patient basis throughout the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, whilst it remains in Schedule 1, a schedule reserved for those substances that have no medical value. An open general license has been issued for Sativex, which allows pharmacists to dispense the product as an unlicensed medicine under certain conditions. There is no longer the requirement for a prescribing doctor or dispensing pharmacist to contact the DHSSPS in relation to obtaining a license to prescribe or supply Sativex. Record-keeping requirements have been waived, and therefore pharmacists do not need to record Sativex in their controlled drug registers. This is quite an extraordinary move on the part of the Home Office, and presumably you're involved in this, Mr Poots. You were actually in the negotiations that led to this actually happening in Northern Ireland, I hope. Hope you weren't left out of the process, Mr Poots. I mean, it is your job, not Theresa May's. General Legal Requirements, a Guide for Pharmacists in Northern Ireland 2010 edition. Sativex is an oral mucosal spray containing the derivatives of cannabis and has been available as an unlicensed medicine on a named patient basis for the treatment of spasticity associated with multiple sclerosis. In June 2010, it was granted a license as a prescription-only medicine. It is anticipated that the product will be classified as a Schedule 4 controlled drug in the future. So, the question then becomes when is the future, Mr Poots? Because the ACMD recommended in 2003 that Sativex, the components of Sativex, should be placed in Schedule 4 Part 1. And when Sativex received its marketing authorization in June 2010, the ACMD got itself together and had another discussion on the subject. At this meeting on the 30th of June 2010, it concluded that the 2003 recommendation remains appropriate. At this meeting, the ACMD discussed in detail the relative merits for placing the new marketed drug in either Schedule 2 or 4. The ACMD concludes that Sativex has a low abuse potential and low risk of diversion. Therefore, the ACMD concludes that based on this assessment, Sativex should be scheduled as a Schedule 4 Part 1 substance. The ACMD is also aware that it will not be appropriate to refer to Sativex, which is a preparatory name, in any amendment to the misuse of drugs regulations, and that a suitable description of the relevant components of Sativex will have to be scheduled with appropriate consequential amendments to the misuse of drugs designation order. The ACMD would welcome being consulted further on any draft legislation. The ACMD recognises the international and trade dimensions of the appropriate scheduling. It would be the first cannabis-based medicine to receive approval in the UK. Well, it already has, Mr Poots. And it is likely to be followed by similar products from the same or other companies. The licensing of Sativex in the UK may be followed by licensing in other areas of the European Union. Well, it has, Mr Poots. Now, it looks to me like you have pulled a fast one. The components of Sativex should be designated into Schedule 4 Part 1. And you haven't done it, Mr Poots. Why not? Is there a problem, Mr Poots, that you actually can't fulfill your legislative duties? Is there some embarrassment over designating the components of cannabis into Part 1 of Schedule 4 of the Misuse of Drugs Regulations 2002? Seeing as you currently have cannabis designated as a drug which has no medical value? So, Mr Poots, there we have it. I think the world should know about this. In particular, I think the people of Northern Ireland deserve to be informed exactly what is going on. I'll leave it for now. Let's just leave it there for now. I'll come back to you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Much appreciated. Bye for now.